The morning sun filtered through the kitchen curtains, casting warm geometric patterns across the breakfast table. Steam rose from 2 coffee mugs while the scent of buttered toast filled the air. It was a Tuesday morning like any other, or so he thought as he scrolled through his phone, half listening to the gentle clinking of spoons against cereal bowls. His wife sat across from him, immersed in her tablet, occasionally sipping her coffee with the distracted air of someone mentally planning their day. Their 7-year-old daughter sat between them, swinging her legs beneath her chair, creating a rhythmic thump that had become the soundtrack of their family mornings. "Mom, should I tell Dad about last night?" The child's voice cut through the comfortable silence with the clarity of a bell. The spoon clattered against the tile floor, the metallic sound echoing in the suddenly tense atmosphere. He looked up from his phone to see his wife's face had gone pale, her hand frozen in midair where the spoon had been moments before. Her eyes were wide, fixed on their daughter with an intensity that immediately set off alarm bells in his mind. "What about last night, sweetheart?" He kept his voice casual, though his heart had begun to pound. Something in his wife's reaction told him this was no ordinary conversation. "Nothing," his wife said quickly, too quickly. "She's probably talking about her dream." "Right. Honey, you had a bad dream." Their daughter looked confused, her small face scrunching up in that way children do when adults inexplicably try to rewrite their reality. "No, I mean when you went out. Remember? I woke up because I heard the front door." The kitchen seemed to shrink. He set his phone down slowly, deliberately, his full attention now on his daughter. His wife had told him she'd worked late in her home office last night. He'd gone to bed around 10, believing she was still downstairs with her laptop, buried in the project she'd been complaining about for weeks. "You went out?" He directed the question at his wife, keeping his tone neutral despite the growing unease in his chest. I went to the store," she stammered, reaching down to retrieve the spoon with a trembling hand. "We were out of milk. I didn't want to wake you." But the store was closed, their daughter chimed in helpfully, oblivious to the tension crackling between her parents. "You said it was closed, remember? That's why you were frustrated when you came back." He watched his wife's face cycle through emotions: panic, calculation, forced calm. She laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Oh, right. Yes, it was closed. I'd forgotten. That's why I was up late. I had to wait until this morning to get milk." "But we have milk," he said quietly, gesturing to the carton on the table, the one that was already here yesterday. The one he'd used for his coffee last night before bed. His wife's mouth opened and closed. Their daughter, sensing she'd somehow caused trouble despite not understanding how, focused intently on her cereal, pushing the colorful rings around in the milk with her spoon. "I must have been confused," his wife finally said. "It's been such a stressful week. Maybe I did just dream about going to the store. You know how it is when you're overtired." But he did know something, and it wasn't that his wife was confused. In 12 years of marriage, he'd learned to read her tells, the way she wouldn't meet his eyes when she was hiding something, the slight tremor in her voice when she lied, the way she touched her neck when she was anxious. All those signs were flashing now like warning lights. "What time did you hear the door?" he asked his daughter gently. "I don't know. Late. It was dark. And then I heard talking." "That's enough," his wife said sharply, then seemed to catch herself. "I mean, honey, you should finish your breakfast. You'll be late for school." But it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. As he watched his wife's hands shake while she lifted her coffee mug, as he registered the dark circles under her eyes that spoke of a restless night, as he replayed the past few weeks of late work nights and unexpected meetings, pieces began falling into place. The picture they formed was one he'd been refusing to see, but his daughter's innocent question had just ripped away the veil. Something had happened last night. Something his wife desperately didn't want him to know about. And he was going to find out what it was. He drove to work on autopilot, his mind replaying the breakfast scene on an endless loop. His wife had rushed their daughter through the rest of the meal, deflecting every question with increasing desperation. She'd practically herded them both out the door, citing meetings and schedules, her voice too bright, her smile too fixed. In the quiet of his office, he closed the door and sat at his desk, hands clasped in front of him. He wasn't a naturally suspicious person. Throughout their marriage, he'd prided himself on the trust they shared. But trust, he was realizing, could also be willful blindness. He opened his laptop and pulled up their security system app. They'd installed cameras 6 months ago, one at the front door, one at the back. His wife had insisted on them after a neighborhood break-in. The irony wasn't lost on him now. His finger hovered over the app. This felt like a violation, like once he looked, there would be no going back. But then he remembered the spoon clattering to the floor, his wife's pale face, and he pressed play on the previous night's footage. For the first few hours, nothing. The timestamp showed 10:17 p.m. when he saw himself trudging up the stairs in the background, heading to bed. The house remained still until 11:43 p.m., when the front door opened. His wife appeared, dressed not in the casual clothes she wore for working at home, but in the black dress she'd worn to her company dinner 2 months ago. She looked around cautiously before stepping out and closing the door softly behind her. His chest tightened. He fast-forwarded, watching the time tick by. 12:15 a.m. 12:30 a.m. 1 a.m. At 1:47 a.m., the door opened again. His wife entered, but she wasn't alone. A man followed her inside. He paused the video, his hand trembling on the mouse. The man was tall, well-dressed, someone he didn't recognize. They stood in the foyer, talking in what appeared to be hushed tones. His wife touched the man's arm, laughing at something. The gesture was intimate, familiar. The man leaned in, and his wife didn't pull away. He couldn't watch anymore. He closed the laptop and leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, the sound suddenly deafening in the silence of his office. His phone buzzed. A text from his wife. "Sorry about this morning. I think I'm just exhausted from work stress. Can we talk tonight? I love you." 3 words that had once been his anchor now felt like a lie. How many times had she texted those words while carrying this secret? How many nights had he fallen asleep believing her work emergencies while she was, what? Meeting this man? He couldn't even finish the thought. Instead of responding, he opened his computer again. He needed more information before confronting her. He needed to know what he was dealing with. He checked their cell phone records online. Her number showed up repeatedly connected to one number he didn't recognize, calls at odd hours, long conversations late at night. The pattern stretched back 3 months, maybe longer. His stomach churned. Next, he checked their credit card statements, something he rarely did since she managed most of their finances. There, among the groceries and utility bills, were charges he didn't recognize. A hotel downtown, multiple visits. Restaurants they'd never been to together. Charges that told a story he didn't want to read. His office phone rang. His assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Your wife is online too. She says it's important." He stared at the blinking light. What could she possibly have to say right now? Was this her attempt at damage control? Did she realize their daughter had opened a door she couldn't close? "Tell her I'm in a meeting," he said finally. "I'll call her back." He wouldn't, though. Not yet. Not until he had all the pieces. By lunch, he'd constructed a timeline. The late nights had started around 3 months ago. That's when she'd taken on the big project at work. The project that required evening calls and weekend hours. The project he'd never questioned because he trusted her. What a fool he'd been. His phone buzzed again. Another text. "Please don't be mad about this morning. Our daughter must have had a dream that mixed with reality. You know how kids are. Call me." The audacity of it struck him. She was trying to gaslight him, to make him doubt his own daughter's testimony. That crossed a line he hadn't even known existed. He typed back a single word, "Okay." Let her think he believed her. Let her think she'd successfully covered her tracks. Meanwhile, he would prepare. He forwarded the security footage to his email. He took screenshots of the phone records and credit card statements. He documented everything. His colleague poked his head in. "Hey, we're ordering lunch. Want anything?" He realized he couldn't stomach food. "No, thanks. I'm good." But he wasn't good. Nothing was good. His marriage was a lie, his wife was a stranger, and his daughter had accidentally pulled the thread that was now unraveling everything. That evening, he arrived home before his wife, something he'd arranged by leaving work early. Their daughter was still at after-school care, giving him time alone in the house, a house that now felt foreign, contaminated by secrets. He started in her home office, the place where she'd allegedly spent so many late nights working. Her laptop sat closed on the desk, but he knew her password, their daughter's birthday, something she'd never thought to change. The computer opened to reveal her email. He hesitated for only a moment before searching. What he found made his blood run cold. Emails to the man from the security footage, someone named David from her company. Messages that started professionally enough 6 months ago but had gradually shifted into something else entirely. Can't wait to see you tonight. Last night was amazing. I wish we didn't have to hide this. The most recent email was from this morning, sent an hour after the disastrous breakfast. We have a problem. I think my husband is getting suspicious. We need to be more careful. David's response, maybe it's time to tell him. We can't keep living like this. I want to be with you properly. His wife's reply, not yet. I need to figure out the right way. Just give me more time. He sat back in her chair, his hands shaking. This wasn't just an affair, it was a full relationship. She was planning a future with this man while feeding him lies about late nights and work stress. The front door opened. He quickly closed the laptop and stepped out of the office, meeting her in the hallway. She jumped slightly, startled to see him home. You're here early, she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. I was just going to start dinner. We need to talk, he said quietly. Her face went carefully blank. About this morning? I told you, I think our daughter was confused. Stop. The word came out harder than he intended. Just stop lying to me. She froze, her purse slipping from her shoulder to the floor. I don't know what you... I saw the security footage, he said, each word deliberate. I saw you leave last night. I saw you come home at almost 2 in the morning with a man. I saw everything. The color drained from her face. For a long moment, she just stood there, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly. Then tears began streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, she whispered. God, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. How long? His voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. 3 months. Maybe 4. I didn't plan it. It just happened. Things like this don't just happen, he said, anger finally breaking through his shock. You made choices. Every single time you left this house, every lie you told, every night you came home and got into bed next to me, those were choices. She was sobbing now, mascara running down her cheeks. I know. You're right. I was weak and selfish and I never wanted to hurt you. But you did hurt me. You're still hurting me. Were you ever going to tell me? Or were you just going to keep lying until, what? Until you figured out how to leave me for him? Her silence was answer enough. I read your emails, he continued. David wants you to tell me. He wants to be with you properly. So this is serious. This isn't just some fling. I don't know what it is, she said desperately. I'm confused. I love you, I do, but I also... Don't. He held up his hand. Don't tell me you love me while you're defending your relationship with someone else. Their daughter would be home in 30 minutes. He needed to figure out what to do before then. She couldn't witness this, couldn't be exposed to the wreckage of their marriage. Pack a bag, he said finally. Stay at your sister's or a hotel or David's place, I don't care. But you can't be here tonight. Please, she begged. Let's talk about this. We can work through this. Don't make me leave our daughter. You should have thought about that before you brought another man into our home while she was asleep upstairs. His voice cracked. While I was asleep upstairs. How could you do that? How could you be so reckless, so disrespectful? I wasn't thinking clearly. We were drinking, and it seemed like the safest option rather than me being out even later. Safe? He laughed bitterly. You brought your affair into our home and you're talking about safety? What if our daughter had come downstairs? What if she'd seen something she couldn't unsee? His wife crumpled onto the floor, her sobs shaking her whole body. Part of him wanted to comfort her. 12 years of instinct didn't disappear in a day. But a larger part felt nothing but cold fury. I'll pick up our daughter, he said, stepping around her. You have 30 minutes to pack and leave. We'll figure out the details later, but right now, I can't even look at you. Where will I go? She asked pitifully. That's not my problem anymore. He sat in his car outside the after-school program, gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. Through the window, he could see his daughter playing with blocks, completely unaware that her innocent question that morning had detonated a bomb under their family. How was he supposed to explain this to her? She was 7 years old. She still believed in fairy tales and happy endings. How could he tell her that Mommy wouldn't be coming home tonight because she'd broken promises he'd thought were unbreakable? His phone buzzed. His wife, I'm at a hotel. Please let me see her tomorrow. We need to figure out what to tell her together. He didn't respond. He couldn't think about tomorrow when he was barely surviving right now. Inside, he signed his daughter out, forcing a smile as she ran to him with a drawing she'd made, a picture of their family, stick figures holding hands under a smiling sun. The irony was almost too much to bear. Where's Mommy? She asked as he buckled her into her car seat. She had to work late, he said, the lie tasting like ash in his mouth. When had he become someone who lied to his daughter? Again. She sounded disappointed. She's been working late a lot. I know, sweetheart. I know. At home, he made her favorite dinner, chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, the kind she liked with shapes. He sat with her while she ate, asking about her day, pretending everything was normal even as their house felt emptier than it ever had. After dinner, as he helped her with homework, she looked up at him with worried eyes. Dad, are you and Mom fighting because of what I said this morning? His heart broke. No, baby. You didn't do anything wrong. You never do anything wrong by telling the truth. But Mom seemed upset. Mom is going through some things right now, but none of it is your fault. Do you understand? Nothing that's happening is because of you. She nodded, but he could see the doubt in her eyes. Children always blamed themselves, even when the adults in their lives were the ones who'd failed. That night, after he'd tucked her in and read 3 stories instead of the usual one, after he'd reassured her a dozen times that he loved her and everything would be okay, he finally let himself fall apart. He sat on the couch in the dark living room, his phone in his hand, scrolling through photos. Their wedding day, she'd been so beautiful, so full of promises. Their daughter's birth, they'd cried together, overwhelmed by love and responsibility. Family vacations, holidays, ordinary moments that had made up their life together. When had it stopped being enough for her? When had she looked at him and decided she wanted something else, someone else? His phone rang. Her sister. He declined the call. She tried again. On the 3rd attempt, he answered. She told me what happened, her sister said without preamble. I know you don't want to hear this right now, but she's devastated. She made a horrible mistake, but she does love you. Love doesn't look like what she did, he said flatly. People are complicated. Marriages are complicated. I'm not saying what she did was right, but maybe. There's no maybe here. She made a choice every single day for months to betray me, to lie to me, to risk our family for someone else. And she only stopped because our daughter accidentally exposed her. A long pause. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Talk to a lawyer, I guess. Figure out custody arrangements. Try to protect our daughter from as much of this as possible. She wants to fight for your marriage. She should have fought for it before she destroyed it. After he hung up, he sat in the darkness for hours, his mind racing through scenarios. Divorce seemed inevitable now, but what would that look like? Would they share custody? Would he have to watch his daughter leave to spend time with his wife and her new boyfriend? The thought made him physically ill. Around midnight, another text from her. I ended it with him. Told him it's over. You and our daughter are my priority. Please give me a chance to make this right. He stared at the message. Was it true? Or was this just another manipulation? Another lie designed to buy her time? He typed back, "You don't get to decide you're done when you got caught. That's not how this works." Her response came immediately, "I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I'm begging you to think about our daughter. She needs both her parents. Please don't let my mistake destroy her life." His anger flared. "You should have thought about that before you brought him into our home. You should have thought about that every time you lied to her about where you were going. You made the choices that brought us here. Don't put this on me." His phone rang, her calling. He declined it. She called again. And again. Finally, he turned his phone off entirely. 2 weeks later, he sat across from her at a coffee shop, neutral territory they'd chosen for their first real conversation since that awful night. She looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, none of the careful presentation she usually maintained. "Thank you for meeting me," she said quietly. He nodded, not trusting himself to speak yet. "I've been seeing a therapist," she continued. "Trying to understand why I did what I did. Not to excuse it, but to figure out how I became someone capable of that." "And what have you figured out?" He couldn't keep the bitterness from his voice. "That I was selfish. That I got caught up in the excitement of feeling desired by someone new. That I convinced myself I deserved it because work was stressful and I felt like we'd become roommates instead of partners." She paused. "But none of that justifies what I did. There's no justification." He stirred his coffee, watching the cream swirl into patterns. "Did you love him?" "I thought I did. Or maybe I loved the way he made me feel, special, interesting, like I was more than just a wife and mother. But it wasn't real. It was an escape from reality, not an actual relationship." "You were planning a future with him. I read your emails." She flinched. "I was living in a fantasy. I never seriously thought about what it would mean to blow up our family, to hurt you and our daughter. I just let myself get carried away with the idea of something different." "That doesn't make it better." "I know. Nothing makes it better. I destroyed your trust, our marriage, everything we built together. I know that." Tears streamed down her face. "But I'm asking, begging, for a chance to rebuild. Not for me, but for our daughter. She needs stability. She needs both of us." He'd spent 2 weeks thinking about nothing else. His lawyer had drawn up divorce papers, ready to file. His therapist had walked him through the stages of grief and betrayal. His daughter had asked every single day when Mommy was coming home, her confusion turning to sadness when he said he didn't know. "If, and this is a massive if, I agreed to try counseling, there would be conditions," he said finally. Hope flickered in her eyes. "Anything. Complete transparency. I get access to your phone, email, everything. No more privacy boundaries until trust is rebuilt, if it ever is." "Yes. Absolutely. You find a new job. I never want to see or hear about David again, and you can't keep working where he works." She nodded. "I already started looking. I never want to see him again either. And if at any point I decide this isn't working, that I can't get past this, we end it cleanly. No fighting about custody, no making this harder on our daughter than it needs to be." "I agree. Whatever you need." He leaned back, studying her face. Did he believe she was truly remorseful? Yes. Did he trust her? Not even a little. Did he still love her? That was the question that kept him up at night. The truth was, love didn't disappear overnight, even when it should. 12 years of marriage, a child together, a life built from nothing, those things didn't evaporate because of betrayal. But they were fundamentally changed, possibly irreparably. "I'm not promising anything," he said finally. "Counseling doesn't mean we're staying together. It means we're trying to figure out if there's anything left worth saving." "That's more than I deserve," she whispered. "It's not about what you deserve. It's about what our daughter needs. She needs to see us try, even if trying doesn't work out." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between them. "Can I come see her tonight?" she asked tentatively. "I miss her so much." He thought about his daughter's face every time she asked about her mother, the way she'd started sleeping with the family photo on her nightstand. "She misses you too. But we tell her together, and we keep it simple. We don't burden her with details she's too young to process." "Agreed. What will we say?" "That Mom and Dad are working through some problems, that it has nothing to do with her, and that we both love her more than anything." "That's the truth." "Is it?" He couldn't help the question. "Because you risked everything that should have mattered most." She had no answer to that. That evening, they sat with their daughter in the living room, the same room where he'd told his wife to leave 2 weeks ago. Their daughter sat between them on the couch, her small hands gripping theirs. "Sweetheart, you know how sometimes grown-ups have problems they need to work through," he started. She nodded solemnly. "Well, Mom and Dad have been having some problems. That's why Mom's been staying somewhere else. But we're going to work on fixing things." "Are you getting divorced?" The question was blunt, shocking in its directness. Emily from school said her parents fought and then got divorced. He and his wife exchanged glances. "We don't know what's going to happen," he said honestly. "But we're going to try very hard to work things out. Either way, we both love you so much, and that will never change." Their daughter started crying. "I just want everything to be normal again. I want us to be happy." His wife pulled her close. "I know, baby. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it better." As he watched them embrace, his daughter's tears soaking into his wife's shirt, he felt the full weight of the situation. This wasn't just about him and his wife anymore. It had never been. Their daughter's innocence had been the first casualty of this disaster, and her well-being had to be the priority now. Could he forgive his wife? He honestly didn't know. Could he trust her again? That seemed almost impossible. Could they rebuild something from the ruins of their marriage? Time would tell. But for now, sitting on that couch with his family, broken but together, he realized that healing, if it was possible at all, would be the hardest thing he'd ever done. Harder than staying, harder than leaving, harder than anything he'd imagined that morning when a simple breakfast question had shattered his world. His daughter's question echoed in his mind, "Should I tell Dad about last night?" He wished she hadn't. He wished he could have remained ignorant, living in the comfortable illusion of a happy marriage. But he also knew that truth, no matter how painful, was better than a lie. As they sat together in the fading light, he made a silent promise to his daughter and to himself. Whatever happened next, he would choose the path that prioritized honesty, healing, and his daughter's well-being. Even if that path led somewhere he'd never imagined going. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with counseling sessions and difficult conversations, with trust slowly rebuilt or the painful acceptance that some things, once broken, can't be fully repaired. But he would walk it one step at a time, choosing courage over comfort, truth over deception. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough.